Aloha world, aloha ohana. Jonah Martin Lyon here, checking in from the west side of Maui. I arrived over here today for the first time since being back on Maui for the last week. I am en route from the northernmost part of the west side, uh, and it will be coming in into the impact zone of the fires here in a couple minutes. I Over at this part, I'll reverse my camera as we go through, but it's great to see just movement. Uh, Good to see the businesses, life, community still operating, still moving forward, still present, still breathing, and also hearing just the beauty of the community expressing and sharing where they're at. So those testimonials and seeking in with community residents coming in the very, very near future. As of now, I wanted to drop into this live stream today to one, to say aloha to everyone, and two, to give as much of a vision, visual reflection, perspective, vantage point, eagle's eye view of what is current and what is happening here in regards to the land up in Lahaina specifically. So right now I'm driving through the Ka'anapali area, which is the most populated area of hotels, resorts. All of this area is intact uh, and very slow in terms of the um, traffic and the energy here, comparatively speaking, as one might imagine. We are definitely running at on a lower population thread of tourism and visitors, and uh, that will start to amplify, start to grow in the next up and coming months. Because that's happening, we're coming into whale season, and the winter time tends to be when we pick up more visitation, and that's when our ohana here, especially on the west side, especially those that suffered um, and are still struggling and figuring this thing out in terms of the housing specifically. I dropped in with the resident, Kyle. He said from his, as he's tuned around to the different hubs here, we have plenty of our needs met in terms of food, water, supply, anything from that standpoint is all good. But in the next 30 to 60 days, 90 possibly max, but looking more at the 30 to 60 days, our Ohana here, who've been staying in the resorts and hotels, giving thanks to that being an outlet, being an option. But it will no longer be too much of an option because of the economic impact that's having to not having visitation and tourists coming through. So we need to figure out our intermediate, immediate housing. And that being said, I'm coming in into our burn zone. So I'm gonna flip this camera around and give you all a updated visual cue right as we enter in. So bear with me as I change my camera around and put it towards the rack camera. And yeah, here we go. So as you can see here, we have some walls have been constructed on one side. This was the area that I parked originally right over here and walked across this bridge to, what is that? Get into this immediate impact zone. It's good to see some sailboats in the water off here. But now we're really coming in into Lahaina, into the township of Lahaina, and uh, giving a look over here. And so essentially, we still have very much a similar kind of look as what we've all been seeing in all of the pictures, videos, so on and so forth. Um, There's some moving big heavy machinery out this side, but right now they're working on what they were already prior to working on is a apartment complex development, and that's appreciated that that's still continuing to go through, and it didn't suffer too much of a loss, if any loss, over there in that apartment complex. So stoked about that, because obviously we need all the housing that we can possibly get right now to sustain our way of life and keep as many Maui residents here on Maui. This is one of our greatest challenges right now, is to keep people here, as people see the devastation, see how much loss is there, and then what they will be receiving in terms of insurance. You know, sometimes it's like it's easy to kind of receive that and then move on, and no judgment to that at all. People need to do what they need to do and what's best for them and their families. And those that feel called to stay here, want to stay here through it, really important for us to get together and to talk about what that looks like. We need to start really planning from a multi-generational approach, but not even looking necessarily at what this looks like for me as a resident of Maui, but what it looks like for my kids and my kids' kids and my kids' kids' kids. You know, that goes 7 generations and beyond. I wanted to come over here because this was one of the first pictures that I took of Sister Athena and her laboratory. And so this gives you an idea of some of the shots, like this whole storage facility, what happened to it. And then literally the next door neighbor is still fully whole and no problems. So this fire just had a mind of its own, as they say, and there's been a lot of different discoveries, uncovering what burnt, what didn't burn, what's salvageable. This is where the fuzz mix is, fuzz box, fuzz mix. And yeah, this is a whole other apartment complex right up here, completely burned down. So in some ways, there's no rhyme or reason to fire. It's an entity of itself. It consumes what's in its path, and it can change and maneuver and choose another path at any given moment, similar to us. That's why a lot of times the culture of people is related to the fire, our light, our choosing, and you know, in this world of Avatar, yeah, it's you know, what element is most creative and destructive both. So yeah, I just wanted to share this part and this piece down here so we can see and really get a sense for and feel for what has happened, what our progress is. You know, I'm gonna head up to the poly back up above to be able to see into the impact zone, into Lahaina a little bit more from up there. Grateful to be in this big van that gives me height and perspective, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to see over and through the woods. And so yeah, I'm coming up above. Patience, prayer, faith. That's what that sign said right there. It's exactly it right there. It's patience, prayer, and faith in action, all necessary at this time. You can see the scorch marks on the land, and you can also see the surrounding area, and recognize how dry this area is and how easy it is for this area to become a fire zone and how much of a fire hazard it is. Now, looking up into this valley, these mountains ahead of us, it goes from basically really dry, arid uh, ecosystem environment, to wet, green, lush ecosystem pretty quickly. It's almost like lines drawn into the mountainside. Um, Neighborhood here, thank God this neighborhood stayed in. Lahaina Luna High School's up that area in that neighborhood, and it's very like old and ancient and Hawaiian style development up in that neighborhood. So again, just gratitude for what is still intact and the path that the fire took. Salvaged some of this, kept some things alive. We have um, all basically a cemetery memorial space right here passing by. So feeling into that, the depth, the grieving, uh, necessary as well to have space. That's where this patience comes from, this faith, the love, the hope. Uh, is we're in a grieving place, big time, as a community here, and so our compassion and consideration as we're speaking about how to respond. What are the best ways? What is needed right now? But overall, this is hope for Maui. This is housing our people everywhere. The brother I just met received this bed for my house, um, is in the industry, housing, construction industry, and he knows about hope. And we shared a bit around what we can do of really quick, rapid construction, rapid build, and sorry, I had to put my phone down right there because there's um, basically there's some law enforcement on these edges, and they're probably keeping people like myself from just coming in, and anybody who wants to do some media coverage can do some media coverage and look right over this edge and peer into all of it, because this is the vantage point. It's rather hard to see right now. I'm wondering if this will give it a little bit more better view for y'all. So anyhow, I'm gonna switch this around. Bring it back in. So yeah, that's the short end of it right now. Lahaina today from a visual cue. There are some tents, some shipping containers just to my right now. Overall on this side, and that doesn't necessarily help. But there's plenty of space over here, and the ability to build because that space is here. But before we start building, we got to take care of the soil. We got to take care of the soil. We got to take care of the water. We need to take care of the earth. We need to take care of the water elements, and the air, for that matter. What can happen when we start messing with this charred area around and start moving it is it will significantly add to the pollutants, the toxic chemicals that is part of a fire, especially structural fires, into the atmosphere and into the air and into the water. And so how we go about really taking care of the scorched, scarred parts of our Aina here. Uh, Part of our patience in having a very in-depth, consolidated, experienced, environmentally sound plan of action to keep Maui beautiful, and as to leave it better than we found it, and to not a big pig that tried to go across the road, but as to not infringe upon or pollute our waters or anymore our soil, to no longer add any more toxins to our soil, rather take that away. And this is where our hemp directives come in. This is where our mycelium directives come in. Our mushrooms, our the other in like pieces of. I'm trying to think of the other piece that we have right now. Two, it's not coming to me right now, so excuse that. But basically, the technologies that we have to take care of this and keep our environment healthy and sound for life to continue to be sustained. When we talk about sustainability, it's multidimensional, and to look at that in every aspect of things. So that's what I have to say. Wanted to tune in, give you all a little rundown, shakedown on the live stream today, give you the update in Lahaina, let you know that we got testimony from our community here coming in these upcoming days as I ground into a home and a place, stabilizing myself so that I can be out there and continue to serve our community of Maui here. So please, knowing that our housing is the most important, most pressing issue that we have as a community here on Maui, it's all about the actual housing infrastructure needed for the thousands of families displaced in Lahaina and from upcountry Kula Olinda fires. And we have it all ready to go. It really is about distributing and getting the resources and the funding to H.O.P.E for Maui and to the nonprofit organizations focused on this, so that we can mobilize the people, so that we can pay the people to build and continue and revitalize our people, our economy, and our Aina. And with that, I want to say thank you to all of our partners, all of our allies, all of our ohana here with Maui. That's the number 4 Maui.org. I want to thank Chris Collins, Seba, Denaya, all of our team, all of our affiliates, and with we have a response, Maui strong, Malama Maui Nui, vision. I mean, so many. It's time for us all to come together, all recognize to our people on Maui, beyond everywhere, bringing peace, a pluralistic ecosystem activating concept of peace zones, peace on earth zones here on Maui. May not even get this because I'm